Okay, so I started up a new project. So what I want to do is I want to go under Layer, New Solid. So I'm going to cut this out here, click and drag. Then once I have that, it's under here, underneath Masks. See that? It's got the pink color, so I know which mask it is. It's all nicely color coordinated. You flip that open, and there's a bunch of things here you can animate. Not too different from the regular transform stuff, which is down here, but a little bit different, right? So really quick, let's try all these out. So mask path, I turn on all these. Sometimes I just turn them all on, except I told you I don't like to turn on anchor point. And then let's go later to 3 seconds. And let's just change everything here. I'm going to show you a bunch of different tools we used. So I'm going to use this convert and click on that to make it more like a square now. I think that should do it. Let's go back and see. So there it goes from round to all square angles. See what I'm getting at? And maybe over here we say, all right, I don't really like that. Let me turn it back to, you don't want those flippy things like this, I think I mentioned. So go like that. Now it'll change again. See how it's changing? I love that. So there's a lot you can do with that. You know, give me some ideas for how we could use this. Any thoughts? There's also feathering of it. Make it soft. See that? Soft. There's also expanding it to make it go beyond your borders. Like that. So you can make like a soft shape. So that could be a kind of like a pulsing light. Let's say the solid, changing the color of the solid, you select it and you go under layer solid settings. See that? That's a little bit hard. But let's make this like a solar flare or something like that. If I change the color and change the expansion, it's like, wow, wow, wow. But see that? Wow. Okay, so there's some different things you could do. I'll show you 3D. So here's my shape. Let's say I want to like tilt it down or something. Okay, this is way cool, but it's pretty advanced. So see this little button here? If you roll over, it says 3D. Allows this layer to be manipulated in 3 dimensions. So once you turn that on, look what happens to some of these settings. See the settings right now? They're all like 2D-ish. As soon as I turn this on, boom, look at all the new things that can happen. So position, and move it over that way. This is basically changing the position. Here it is going back in space or closer to us. So there's a Z space. Z is in and out, right? H is horizontal, usually left and right. V vertical, up and down. You kind of have to get used to the sliders. I usually just try them out. And then I'm going to turn on the stopwatches too, so we can actually animate everything. All right, so now I'm ready to animate. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, see-throughness, we might want that. So I added a lot more stuff I can do. So let's just go over here and then we'll change them all. So I'm moving it around a little bit. I'm moving it closer to us. And then now I can do stuff like changing the scale a little bit. This is all locked in. And here's like a new type of orientation that we can do. See how it's like starting to spin around that center? That's kind of cool, isn't it? This could be like a searchlight, right, on the top of a building or something. So now that'll be animated because I had the little dot on there. So what else do we have? We have X and Y. We have this is what they call a gimbal. You can actually grab this and rotate this around too in different ways. This is kind of a new thing. They didn't have this last year. See that? They call this a gimbal because you can grab all the parts and move them around in different ways. The only other thing you might try is drawing a shape and stroking it and filling it. So I've made this new shape. All right, here's what I was trying to do. See, there's a stroke here. See that? For every shape. This is very indicative of what's going to happen in Illustrator. We're going to cover that more next week. Turn it up. So now I have a stroke around the outside of my shape that I did. That's the only thing that's kind of better about these shapes. We could also add in different kinds of shapes with this. Those are the main things it can do. And they're also easier to change. If you don't like the color, you can change it a lot quicker. Do you guys want to throw a light in there? This is way advanced, but let me just show it to you and then you can play with it this week. So once again, if you don't have to make a masterpiece, just make a piece of crap. Just make something, and because the more you make, the more you learn, right? So here we go. We got this stuff in here, and if I export, this is what we're going to see, right? So let me just do a layer, a new, not text, not solid, but a light and a camera. A null object, basically nothing, but it's really good if you want to parent something to it. You can move the null and it'll move all sorts of stuff. So it's like an invisible place to pin stuff. That's all a null is, okay? Shapes, we've already done that a little bit. Adjustment layer is kind of cool because it's a layer that affects everything below it. So if you put like black and white on adjustment layer, everything below it will go black and white. So you might want to play with adjustment layer. And this is a really good secret. This is 3D for free. So when you're ready, I think you might have to do it over here. File, new, Maxon Cinema 4D file. When you're ready, open that up if you want to get into some crazy stuff. It's a whole other piece of software that Adobe basically bought. And it's free. You can do pretty intense 3D for free right here in After Effects, but it's basically a second software. You know that stuff we just did with 3D? That's basically what it is, except you can sculpt in there. You can make objects and you can mold them like clay. But anyway, let's go back into layer, new. Let's add a light in. Here I go. I'm going to put a light in there. And look at the settings on a light. You can have a spotlight. You can have a point light. It's a very pointed kind of thing. A parallel is like a straight light like this that doesn't spread out. Ambient is like a naked light bulb in the house. So basically they have a lot of different kinds of lights. And I'll choose a spotlight because we can do cool stuff with that. All this can be adjusted. You can also tell it to cast shadows. If I put this one in front of that one, this one could cast a shadow on that one. So that's kind of way cool. Takes a little practice to get that to work. Fall off is sort of like, fall off is basically does the light die out? You know, that's what that is basically. So now, do we want to put a color on the light? So here's red. And as soon as I say okay, it's going to make a new layer and it's going to be adjustable and it'll kind of shine on things. Let's see what it does. Okay, see that? There's my light right there. Here it is off, here it is on. Why isn't it affecting that other shape, I wonder? It's because I didn't turn on 3D. Turn on 3D and now all of a sudden that red light is affecting everything. Now notice here, here's my light, right? And there's things I can change on it, just like everything else, and all of them can be animated. This is way advanced. But point of interest is kind of what it aims at. That's this button right here. Got to make sure you're using the right tool. See this button? I can aim it at this thing, or I can aim it at that thing. See what I'm getting at? Watch this. I can even animate that. Let's start it here. A little bit later, I'll aim it over here. Okay. I'll roll across it. See how it's like changing the light? So that's kind of when you're seeing, like, you see a light sweep, you know, like a light goes. So we could also animate, let's animate the color of it. Let's say the red, let's start it out like a different color. Let's start it out like just pure white. So now it's white and it fades into red. So every single thing could be animated if you get, most of you guys have gotten pretty good already at the keyframe thing, right? I mean, you say, look like this here, look like that there. Just talk yourself through it that way and you should be fine, right? But yeah, this is really fun to throw these lights in here. Let's put one more light in. It's awfully dark, right? Let's put in one layer, new light that is an ambient light, and let's make it maybe a different color. Ambient light, remember, is like a naked light bulb. So let's make it kind of a bluish color. I'll hit OK. It's very bright, so you can go in and sort of chill it out, turn the intensity down. So now it's just barely lighting things up. It's kind of cool though. We're getting some interesting stuff going on. So can you see how a light could really jazz this up? All right, you want to throw a camera in there just for fun? All this you learn best if you just get in there and dork around with it, play with it, and see what happens. All right, that's another professional word, dorking around with it. All right, layer new camera. Check this out. I would stick with, I don't know, 2-node camera, sure, whatever. You can give it a name. You could call it V camera, my Vance's camera. You can change, this is really freaky, but this is kind of, can get real scientific. You can actually program this camera to be like a real camera. And then whatever they did with a guy on a green wall with dots on it and stuff, it'll line up perfectly. And then whatever happens in your fake 3D world matches perfectly the human who's jumping from building to building and all that kind of stuff. So you can get really scientific with it. You know, that's like really nerdy, but people do it. So you can match lenses. If you know what lens is on your camera, you can match that. So we have a camera. And the hard thing about this is you have to kind of look through the camera. See this? You have to look through the camera. So let me say VCam. It's the same as the other camera, but now this camera can be animated. Everything can be changed, all the focus, the aperture. So if I have one of these objects here and one of them here, I could pull focus. I could have a really wide aperture. You guys know all that camera stuff probably from studying cameras. It's really cool because it's just like a real camera. So let's do, I don't know, let's do a kind of like here. I'm going to hit zoom. I'll just turn them all on. That's probably easier. Let's see. You can just kind of roll up them like that to turn them on. So this is super advanced. Sorry to get too crazy on you guys. So go over here and zoom out. And now we're starting to move the camera around. See that? We want to change focus. We could do that. We could change what it focuses on. The other thing you can do is, this is really crazy, but you can do 4 views. And now I see all the things my camera's aiming at. See, I can move it over here. I can jump over here. I can move it out like that. You know, I could move the whole camera out. I can come over here. I can move the camera to the side. So once you get the idea, what was Z? In and out. So we're dealing with old math crap they taught you back in geometry. Okay, so what's this? H horizontal, V for vertical, and Z for depth. Just try it. You just mess around. What are you going to screw up? If you screw something up, I'll give you a better grade. Because you're trying stuff, right? So let's see what I've got when I hit play on this. I'm just kind of curious. Preview. This is probably like the most important window, and they hide it in here. This is how you kind of test your movie and see if you like it. All right, so here's what I got. Must not see. That's when you start doing too many freaky things, it tends to crash a little more because it's not a solid state. You're dealing with things they bought and stuck in there. Do I really want to watch all this boring part? No. So what I do is I pull this over, right? So it just focuses on this area. Hit play. Let's skip it. I was having too much fun. All right. Here's one more advanced thing. Everybody look up here. Really fast, super simple. These keyframes are very robot. They go like, you guys notice that everything we're making is doing this? Okay. You want to get a little better on that? You just select these things, right click them, and do keyframe assistant. Try this out first. Easy ease. What it does is it makes keyframes that chill. They basically don't go like, I'm Mr. Robot. It goes like, ah, ah, ah. See what I'm getting at? Kind of chilled out. All right. Let's see if you notice any difference here. It might be a lot smoother now. It feels, oh, see, it still popped there at one point. But everything's moving a little better. Let me do it on these two. I almost always do this easy easing, like all these keyframes here. See all those keyframes? Let's just do it on all of them and see what happens. Right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, or F9. That'd be a lot faster, wouldn't it? Rewind it, play it. Let's see if it's just more organic. Feels a little more organic, doesn't it?